Hey there, aspiring guitarists. It's a new week. It's Monday. This week's guitar tip, we're going to talk about the order of chords that I teach, with the exception of that very first chord, which I have a video about, where I teach a one finger chord strumming just three strings, and that's a C chord by touching the second string first fret. And you can see that would be a C note. And then I teach them to strum 3, 2, 1. So you get a beautiful C. And there's a reason I teach that, and I cover that in that video. So what's next? So after I do that C chord, which teaches them to do a chord, I then get them with some rhythm. Then I use variations of the major chords E, A, and D. And those are flashing on my fret light right now. There's your E. There's your A, there's your D. I'm also going to tell you what I teach after that and why. So, when I say E, A, D, I even have a video where I showed that as a chord progression. But I want to stop. I understand if you want to just leave right now, okay, I'll go practice the E, A, and D. But I'm also going to tell you, before you move on to the next set of major chords, you should have in there as well an E minor, an A minor, and a D minor. We might even spin off into an A7, an E7, and a D7. But E, A, and D are the music alphabet chords I start off with. The next thing I start off with is G, C, F, and then B last. With that, I've covered all 7 musical alphabet notes and chords, but I mix in variations. So I want to stop right here. You've got them E, A, D. I already told you I'm going to do some minors, some sevenths, things like that. And then the next I move is G, C, F, B. And I do it in that order. E, A, D, G, C, F, B. And they're kind of set up. Well, no, they are set up, because this is not something I learned from anybody else. This is something I implemented after years of my own guitar playing and interacting with others. So I'm going to start off with something that's simple. That's why I do that little tiny one finger C chord. And then we're going to move into a 2 finger E minor. And I'm going to take the E minor, and I'm going to teach them that there's 2 ways to do it, fingers 1 and 2, or fingers 2 and 3. But I'm also going to, so I didn't start with E, I started with E minor. So, but E is going to be there too, here it comes. So I'm going to teach them the E minor, and then I'm going to teach them to take this first finger that isn't fretted and to drop it down, and there's the E. And then we're just going to go back and forth. Okay, the next hardest chord is A. And there it just went. There's D, there's E, there's A. Now, many people are taught to make that A with 3 fingers all bunched in. I'm going to show them that. And then I'm going to show them splitting it that way, which I've covered. We'll cover that. I did it in the EAD tutorial. And then I'm also show them how to make a little bar by taking the first finger and just laying it across there. And then we're going to move into like an A minor. We're going to move into an A7. And the next hardest chord is a D. And that's a chord where we use 3 fingers, just like the E. Now, it's not as simple as the E minor to E, where all you do is use 2 and 3 up here on the 5th and 4th string, 2nd fret, and then you just dropped the index finger to make the E. The D, we're going to be pretty much coming from scratch. However, after they learn the D, then I'll take the A chord shape and I'll show them how to anchor, keep the finger anchored, the 3rd finger, the ring finger, and make that D. So E, A, D. The next one is G. G's a pretty hard chord to make, and the reason it's a hard chord to make, but it's not the hardest chord to make, but it's also a chord that's very beloved among guitarists. You will often see a great guitarist pick up a new guitar in a store, and the very first thing he's going to do is strum a G chord. So G utilizes 3 fingers again, but there's different ways to do it. You can use 1, 2, and 3. You can use 2, 3, and 4. There's even other ways to make G that we'll cover. The next is probably the hardest chord that a beginner guitar is going to make and use regularly. It goes back to why I taught that little simple C. If they're giving a C and a strong, they've already learned E, A, and D. I'll tell them, okay, until you learn how to make that normal open cowboy chord C, which, as you know, that's 3rd fret, 5th string, 2nd fret, 4th string, 1st fret, 2nd string. That's a hard chord to pull off and keep your thumb straight, just like the G is hard to pull off and keep your thumb straight. So that's the reason that they bring up the end. And then I've got F. Now, the F is the one everybody hates because it's a bar chord. I even have lessons on, how to do when not to play the F chord, how to make the F chord, cheats for the F chord. And then the very last one is B, because we so very seldom use a B. But then we're going to learn how to use a B. We're going to learn how to incorporate that with one of our first bar chords that actually works and things like that. So here it is again with variations. I'm going to give you the major chord, a minor chord, probably a 7th. I'm not going to do suspendeds with the D and things like that yet. You're trying to get them familiar with A, B, C, D, E, F, G. 7 notes of the musical alphabet. And then they'll cover them all. So once again, I'm going to do that little bitty tiny C, and then E and variations, A and variations, D and variations. And then G, variations, C, variations, F, variations, B, variations. Okay, if you've written that down, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the description. I don't try to clickbait people. I feel like I hope I'm not talking for nothing. But I realize some people want to get right to the meat of something. But now I want to take that and I want to talk about your guitar plan. My wife and I had one of our guitar lessons, and what I got her to do was just watch the video I already had just the other day about getting more out of the E minor. And so she started asking questions. Well, wait a minute. Those 3 notes you said that make up this, I don't get it. And we dove deeper, and when my wife and I meet a standoff, we go deeper. We do sender-receiver feedback. We keep asking questions till we come to an understanding. And so I went through, in fact, I stopped the video, and then I went into some musical alphabet lessons, and she had some of this in the past, but she made a valid point to me. And that was that sometimes somebody just coming into a video, because I don't have a laid out plan, they may be confused. Now, what I do about that, I always tell y'all, you may get this piecemeal filed away in the back of your head. You'll get a light bulb somewhere else. But I do want to stop there, and I want to, let's talk a second about a plan. I would encourage you to come up with a guitar plan. If you don't pay for an instructor, or you're not following a plan like Justin Guitar, Ricky Comiskey, Den Lopez, True Fire, all these guitar-worthy sites that I've mentioned, because many of these do build upon each other. And my wife kind of reinforced that with me. Sometimes sometimes I feel like I'm doing an injustice because I'm not being an instructor, but I can't be. I don't have the time for that. I do feel like the tips and the enhancements that I make can help you, but I encourage you to come up with a plan. So that was the reason for this video today. Write out a plan for what chords you're going to practice. At least get to there. You don't have to do E, A, D, G, C, F, B. Just do E, A, and D. E, E minor, E7. A minor, A7. D, D minor, D7. Write that out. Actually write it out. Put it on the calendar. Grab a piece of paper and just write it on a piece of paper and pin that sucker on the wall. You know, I mean, just, you know, E, A, D. And then you can do E minor, E7, you know, and then do the same for the A and for the D. Develop a plan. And I know sometimes people don't like plans. God, they probably had plans shoved down their throat their whole life. And I know maybe piecemeal is the only way you can learn guitar, and there's nothing wrong with that. I try to stop and emphasize to file things away in your head to learn that there's more to learn. But I do encourage you to get a plan. Get a plan. I've even got a video of, if you go through my guitar teaching playlist, where I can't remember the guy's name, but you'll see it, where he shows an order in which to learn various things on the guitar. Now he goes way beyond learning chords, but I got to tell you, I've known people my whole life, over 50 years of playing, that all they ever did was learn chords, and they've gotten pretty darn good. All the rest is an extra blessing. But I do encourage you to have a plan. Even if it's just, hey, this week I'm going to learn E, E minor, and E7. Next week, I'm going to review E, E minor, E7. I'm going to add A minor, A7. We'll go that for a week. And then on the third week, I'm going to review the E variations. I'm going to review the A variations. And then I'm going to add D, D minor, D7. The fourth week, the end of the month, I'm going to remember every last one of them and see if I can. It's a plan. It's a plan. It gets you used to a plan. And I think it will help your guitar journey. And hey, I hope your guitar journey is blessed. I really do. And most of all, like I always say, and I mean it, hey, happy picking.